The genius himself is here. Paul, oh my goodness, what a mammoth task. Where do you even begin with Wicked?
Oh gosh, you just start in. Uh, you know the overall. I guess the overall inspiration is what exists and what is our collective consciousness of the Wizard of Oz and all of those characters. Dorothy, the Wicked Witch of the West, Glinda, the Wizard of Oz, and so having that as a place to be nostalgic about, and then folding in the musical from Broadway, the book by Gregory Maguire of Wicked. Then you make it happen because with John M. Chu, the director, he wanted to have a new vision of what our Wicked would be. But I think that at the same time, I found that it was important to acknowledge those characters in a way that the audience could actually relate to them, and that it would kind of raise up those feelings of nostalgia and warmth that they have for the original characters, as well as be able to see the characters anew.
I want to talk about this clip that we just saw from One Shore Day, which you've seen on stage is great, but Paul, what you've done here is so incredible. The hats, the socks, the shoes, every single detail, but it's the green. Like, you just make it look so beautiful and easy on our eyes, right? Like, what went into creating a number like this? It's a huge ensemble number too.
One of the things that was really important for the first part of Wicked One was to reserve the color of green, because the focus was Elphaba's skin. So I don't use any green until the first kind of introduction to green is the train. And then we see the two friends, Elphaba and Galinda, on the train. But then when they step off, you have this world that unfolds, and it's completely green, but it also has layers of, there's chartreuse, I use fuchsia, there's a little bit of blue, kind of teal tones, to set the green off, to be a slight contrast, so that this whole world could be as magical as, one of the images that I have is when I first came to New York City, and I was coming from Akron, Ohio, as a high school student, and I stepped off the bus, and we're in the middle of Times Square, and the excitement that I felt, and how dazzling it was to be in this cosmopolitan space. So, I was trying to evoke that kind of feeling in the clothing that I was designing for all those characters.
I love it. Everybody here has seen Wicked, right? Because my next question is a spoiler question. In this sequence, there is also an incredible moment where we have Idina Menzel and Kristen Chenoweth. Talk about, yes, you can applaud. Um, Talk about designing their outfits.
Well, they play the wise women, which is part of the Wizamania presentation, which is a theatrical presentation within Emerald City. So the first challenge is to decide, okay, so what is theatrical for a world that is what you just saw? I mean, where everybody is dressed in kind of over the top clothing. So how do I make that more poignant and more interesting? And with Nathan Crowley, our production designer, he designed the set so that it was it was reflective of the pop-up book that you see earlier in the movie, when Elphaba is dreaming about going to meet the wizard, and so she's mesmerized by this pop-up book. So then to see it fully realized on stage was very magical, and pop-up books have always been magical for me as well. But to see the scenery as cut paper, basically, then I started to think, well, the clothes should somehow relate to that as well and be reflective of that vocabulary. So when you see the dresses, they're like leaves of pages that can flutter and can it's like you're flipping a book. And the way that we constructed it was, there were like layers of fabric that were then wired, or there was a monofilament that ran on the edge, so that we retained the pristine shape of all those the petals or leaves that you see. But also with Kristen Chenoweth, I mean, Kristen was originally Glinda, and Edina was Elphaba, but I wanted to swap their tonal quality. So I made Kristen Chenoweth the darker one, and then Edina the lighter one, more reflective of the sun. And then the color palette and the ombre of color within the dresses, was the more magical element of it. Yeah.
Love that. I love an Easter egg question, Paul. What was your favorite Easter egg that you put into any of the costumes, the millions of costumes that you designed for this film?
I love the tornado heels and the crystal and silver slippers. That's one of my favorite elements. And if you haven't heard this, or anyone who is not aware of them, they're the shoes that originally belonged to Mrs. Throp, Elphaba and Nessa Rose's mother. They're placed at the front of the bed when Elphaba is born. So that's when you're introduced to the silver and crystal slipper, and then they're gifted once Nessa Rose is going to Shiz. She's entering into Shiz, and their father gifts these shoes to Nessa Rose, and Nessa Rose wears them to the Ozdas Ballroom. But in the second film, you'll see what ends up happening with them, and what the evolution of that whole idea is. But they're the equivalent of the ruby slippers. It just so happens that the silver shoes, that's what Baum originally wrote in the Wizard of Oz. So it takes the place of the ruby slippers. So that's probably one, and then the the poppy imagery that I use on Mrs. Throp as well, because of the connection with the potion, and the potion being a drug, and then the poppy being related to opium, and how the poppy is also, reflective of the field of poppies that we know of from the Wizard of Oz film as well. So it's all those things together. I mean, I think that I tried hard to find different ways of weaving in the overall culture of the Wizard of Oz, because I thought that it would just give us more. I mean, overall, for both Nathan and myself, we were trying to create a world that felt like it actually existed. And in order to do that, we needed to infuse as many details into the world, so that you really do get the sense that, you could walk right into it.
Amazing. Everybody's going to go back and watch Wicked and look out for all those Easter eggs now. Paul, thank you so much for that insight into Wicked. We can't wait for Wicked Part 2, or For Good as it's called. Thank you. Stay seated. I'll see you back for the conversation. But for now, let's take a look at a clip from Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes.